Hey everyone, welcome to Be Strong, Be You, and I'm Tanisha Stansel. I have alopecia areata totalis, and yes, it is pronounced alopecia. Nothing burns me up than when someone who doesn't know tries to tell someone that they are pronouncing it wrong. Someone tried to tell my sister that, and I said, why would I walk around with my own diagnoses, trying to educate others, and trying to connect with others who also have it and be saying it wrong? It makes zero sense. So it is alopecia areata totalis, and that's what I have, hair loss of the scalp. Welcome, Ireland, to the blog, supporters and alopecians. Thanks so much for watching. This week I'm going to get into middle school, my home life. And what I'm finding out, it's taken me a lot to actually talk about it, but the parts that's going to be more important are the effects afterwards as I move beyond it. And I'm going to constantly reflect so that you guys understand where I'm coming from. So, for example, in being abused, there was inappropriate acts. And for example, when I get to the point of talking about relationships with people, and whether they're friends or whether they're men, light touching, I can't do it. People coming up behind me, I can't do it. Like, it takes me, you never forget that fear that you have, that you build up when you're being abused. So I'm not really going to go into detail today, but I am going to give some instances, but you'll keep hearing about that so that I can reflect on that's the reason why I behave that way, or why I built up those mannerisms from being abused emotionally, physically, and sexually. So in middle school, sorry guys, when the abuse began, I just, like I said in past posts, wasn't sure what was going on, and I just knew I felt uncomfortable. And I was beginning middle school, so I can't even imagine younger children going through these things and how much more severe it could be on them. Not that it's not severe for all ages, because it definitely is, but your brain is just going 1,000 miles an hour about, but this is my parent. But am I supposed to tell on him? But if I tell on him, will I get in trouble? You know, like, I thought those things as a middle schooler. So something else that I always remember is that when things happen to people and they can remember them vividly, yes, there are people who can make elaborate stories, but like sometimes you just gotta take a step back and be like, how did I remember that on that day that happened to me, I was wearing these white floral shorts and the flowers were colored burgundy and orange? How did I remember that when that incident took place, he was wearing these burgundy sweatpants that had a hole in them? It's just like the details of what happened are so vivid and seared in your mind that you never forget them, because at those moments, that those things happened, you were changed. You were exposed to something you should not have been exposed to. When you're watching something that you should not be watching on TV because it comes on late at night and it's just completely rated X and inappropriate for kids, yet you're being made to sit here and watch this. And I can remember the exact shows, I can remember the channels, and it's just like those are the moments that you were exposed to things that you should never have been exposed to. So when people talk about it, I really listen to what they say. And the more detailed they go into it, and the more emotional they come with it, because of it, that's like, I mean, as a person who has actually experienced it, and I'm only saying this because there are people out there that fortunately have not, I envy you. And you just know, like, it just resonates with you to know, like, yeah, they were hurt. And so I'm that type of person. I'm very observant and listening. So unfortunately, that's how it all began. It kind of just began as little bits of, and probably at that moment, it was just like a test. Let me test and see where she's at. Couple weeks, a month go by, let me try something else. Let me try something else. And then at some point, as the victim, at this point, they built up this whole thing against you. Like, you sat there and watched that with me. You let me do that to you, and you never said nothing before then. So, like, why are you going to speak up now? And it became a mental struggle. And eventually, they became a foster home. And that used to bother me because and now it bothers me because I know the horror stories that could come from a foster home. And that's going to play a huge role in some of the decisions I made as a grown-up for other people that I loved, because what if it would have been worse than what we already came from? So this happened, and this was when I was heavily into trying to get my friends to be able to stay. And I had one amazing friend when I was younger, and we were inseparable. And between spending the night at my house, if my mom said no, we would spend the night at my grandmother's. Amazing. So it got to the point where I think I only got to spend the night at her house maybe once, but she practically could live with us. And I'm going to get to those friendships that evolved, and how me getting to this point when I was a grown-up make me think back on my friends. But it was amazing. But unfortunately, the stuff wasn't happening when she came over. You know, it was a safety net, and then it gets to the point where it kind of starts to die down the more severe that it gets. So being a foster home, we had a few kids. They were little, they were babies, and then we ended up getting someone who was my age, and I had to share my room with her, and that was heaven. That was heaven, because it just seemingly was stopped immediately at that point. But I was still scared. I was still getting whoopings, and at this point I just felt like the whoopings were just out of anger. They weren't even because I was doing anything wrong. I could literally still, like I was talking about when I was younger, I could still breathe wrong and I was gonna get a whooping. My brothers could do something wrong and I could get a whooping. And it just really made me upset because I got to watch my brother leave and do stuff freely all the time. And I was still trying to figure out why I wasn't allowed to have friends and why I wasn't allowed to go anywhere unless it was church. So still, church is my life. Church was my entire life for 18 years. Well, from memory to 18. And I would do anything to be in anything to be at church. And on Sundays, we had 2 services, Sunday morning and Sunday night. And I would do anything to be able to go to someone else's house for those 3 hours to get out of my home. I began to stay secluded in my room because I had nowhere to go, nothing to do. I was in middle school, 7th, 8th grade, and I had no friends unless I literally stayed active in a sport. And it was still kind of spotty because of the watching my brothers. At that time, it was my brothers. And then when we had the foster child come in, we kind of didn't get to do anything together. I mean, it was just bad. Even pageants. I felt so ugly. And I have a pageant picture. Oh my God, I have a pageant picture. And I was in a pageant, but I remember the first pageant I was in, I was so upset because we were late. I did my own nails. I was wearing this. My mom always dressed me like I was going to church. Like I'm going to a pageant. Like this is, I'm supposed to be girly. And, you know, at that time I was really into watching Miss America and Miss Universe with my grandmother. And I didn't look nothing like those girls. I mean, I didn't look nothing like them. I was straight ugly. I mean, I was struggling, and I was so upset that I was watching my friends and even my brother, because he just seemed to get everything he wanted, and I always got the bottom of the barrel. I never had nice clothes on. I very rarely had nice shoes on, and people would say, well, at least you had some shoes and some clothes on. Well, yeah, at least I had some on, but I wanted to feel good about myself, and I already didn't have my hair falling back out. And when it grew back in, it didn't grow as much as it did the first time, and so I'm gonna talk about that. But I started like having thoughts of like cutting myself and things. So I began to just be so angry. I was listening to, I remember back in the day, we just had a cassette tape. We've come a long ways. We've come so long. I mean, I used to record songs I loved. I used to just listen to music all the time and cry. And I would stay in my room and listen to music before I'd watch TV any time of day. So as I move forward, I'm going to intertwine moments of abuse so that you can see my thought process of, even now as a grown-up, why I think that way. And sometimes it's something to overcome. It's something to be like, Tanisha, you know what, that's what it was in the past, but it doesn't have to be that way now. You can change that. And it's heavily affected my relationships, whether they were personal, whether they were professional. It plays on your trust. And just parents out there, just tell your children to talk to you and just listen to them, and just to make sure that they're okay. Because I am going to get into the moment I told my mom and how I felt, how that went down, and I'll never forget it. Everything is a life-changing moment. So if you're not following me on Twitter or the blog, I'm on Facebook, LinkedIn professionally, Instagram, and Snapchat. So my feature picture is going to be this picture when I had the crochet braids. Thank you so much to my friend Vicky, who was one of my really good friends when I was in school. She had just moved to my hometown in middle school, so she found that picture for me. Thank you so much. It just made my day to know, like, she had that picture, because I know the pictures I took, but I just couldn't remember, so I really appreciate it. So I will, that's my feature picture today. I'm wearing this turquoise greenish looking sweatshirt, and I had the crochet braids before my hair fell out, so enjoy that picture. And I have one from the pageant, but I'll wait till the next post. And it's horrible. Putting myself out there. Thank you so much for everyone following me, and keep sending me emails. They're wonderful. I appreciate all the kind words. I'm still making it day to day. I have another story I want to tell you, but it's got to be perfect timing for me. So hopefully I'll be able to come back this week or next week to tell you that. And everyone have an amazing week. And please share with alopecians and supporters out there, or people who may be going through anxiety, depression, been through abuse, because we don't always have to see a celebrity who's been through it. Some people just want to know that there's real down-to-earth people who've been through these things they've been through and have made it out with success. So be strong and be you. Thank you, everyone, and love you so much.